Long ago, the great god Poseidon, ruler of the seas, horses, and earthquakes, sat on his golden throne in his glorious and sparkling palace at the bottom of the deep Aegean Sea. Surrounded by gleaming gems, pearls, and coral of every color, Poseidon scratched his beard, held his trident, and thought about his life. Here he was, living in the most beautiful palace in all of the world, and yet still he was unhappy. As one of the 12 gods of Mount Olympus, Poseidon was powerful. After all, his brothers were Zeus, god of the sky, and Hades, god of the underworld. He could have anything he wanted. So why, then, did he always feel so lonely? He knew what the people on land were up to, as gods usually did. He heard they built a new city not far away in a land called Attica. He'd heard that King Cecrops, we'll call him Cecrops, King Cecrops, half human and half snake, was looking for a patron god for his new city. Maybe I could be their god. If the king chose him, then he could be near humans all the time, instead of alone in the sea. Maybe they would even name the city after him. But two things were against him. What if the people on land didn't want the great god of the sea to be their patron? And second, his niece Athena also wanted to rule over the city. Athena was not only the goddess of wisdom, she was also Zeus's daughter. Everyone loved her. She and Poseidon argued over who would head the new city for countless weeks. Poseidon pouted on his throne more and more. What could he do to show the people that he was the right choice? Once, long ago, he created horses as a gift to the people. He wanted to give humans a strong animal to help them carry heavy loads and transport them wherever they needed. It was such a caring creation, he thought. Yet the other gods frowned upon him. You are causing problems with these horses, Zeus bellowed at him. The people who have them think they are better than the people without. Wars are starting because of you. Poseidon felt terrible about causing such a strife. He only wanted to help. His sadness made the clouds darken. The waves turned gray and frothy. To clear his mind, Poseidon called for his golden chariot and the team of 6 snow-white horses. Maybe a quick dash across the ocean would help him feel better. He leaped in and held the reins tightly. As the chariot bounced across the choppy waters, Poseidon spotted someone swooping down from the skies toward him in the distance. A moment later, a young man arrived wearing winged shoes. King Poseidon, the young man said, hovering in the air. He held a staff decorated with snakes and wings. Nice to see you again, Hermes, Poseidon said flatly. Sir King Cecrops summons you for a contest. Summons. A contest? Poseidon's sea blue eyes sparkled. He loved to show off. Yes, your niece Athena. Yes, against your niece Athena. Come to the Acropolis in Attica at once. Then Hermes took off, soaring westward over the sea. Poseidon knew the location of this city. It sat on a large hill known as the Acropolis, and it was the perfect place to hold a contest. He would go at once and find out what his competition was all about. As Poseidon's mood improved, the clouds opened, the sun shone again. The waves parted to allow his horses through. When he arrived at the Acropolis, he was surprised to see the entire city gathered at the foot of the flat-topped hill. In the sky, 10 of his fellow Olympian gods, including Zeus and Hades, sat smiling down at everyone. Standing regally on the hill was Athena, beautiful daughter of Zeus, dressed in silk robes, wearing a gleaming helmet and holding her staff. Hello, uncle, she said. Athena, he nodded at her. Welcome, both of you. King Cecrops slithered up to the Acropolis towards them. The people of Attica are unsure whom to pick as their new patron god. Shall we have a contest to help us decide? Poseidon looked at Athena. She was beautiful, wise, and patient, but her powers were also great. He knew he could win the contest. He was the mighty ruler of the seas. Yes, let us compete, Poseidon said. Athena bowed her head at him with a smile. Good, King Cecrops said. Then let each of you design a gift for these fine people. Whoever gives the best gift wins the city. Poseidon thought for a moment. A gift? That's all? The people built their city near the sea because they loved water. Perfect. Even though he was known as the Earthshaker in some parts of the land for causing earthquakes when angry, ruling the sea was what he did the best. Slowly he lifted his trident, brought it down with force, and struck a large rock. Right away, the rock spring full of water. Right away, a large spring full of water formed, and the people cheered. With this water you may drink and bathe, he said. But when the people rushed over to drink the water, they spit it onto the ground. Ugh, it's too salty, they cried. Being a sea god, salty water was all Poseidon could create. He raised a hand and explained. Yes, but it represents the sea and important trade with other lands. You will have a big empire of ships. Our city will be the greatest in all of the land. The people liked the idea of having a spring to symbolize their greatness. But they also wanted to see what gift Athena might give them. Athena stepped forward, looked at the surrounding land, and smiled. Using her staff, she pointed the end at the ground. With a flash of light, a beautiful tree rose from the ground. Behold the olive tree, she told the people. It can give you food, oil, wood, and shade. It can also be a great product for trade. The people cheered and clapped for the gift Athena had created for them. That is silly, Poseidon said, jealous. It's just a tree, and yours is just a pool of salty water, uncle. Athena laughed. My gift is wiser and more practical, isn't it, father? She looked up at Zeus in the heavens. He beamed down at her, thunderbolt in hand. Tell us, dear gods, which gift do you find for my fine people? Which gift do you find better for my fine people? King Cecrops asked the other 9 Olympians. Zeus did not vote. He wanted to stay fair since both his brother and daughter were competing for the same prize. The other Olympians talked amongst themselves. Soon it was decided. Athena had created the better gift, so she would become the patron ruler. She bowed to thank everyone. The people named their city Athens after their goddess of wisdom. As the townsfolk cheered and celebrated, Poseidon shook with rage. His voice boomed across the sky and the clouds darkened. The winds blew stronger. Water is the source of all life, he shouted. You chose a silly tree over a symbol of true strength and might? You will all be sorry. And with that warning, he jumped back into his chariot and raced across the land toward the crashing sea. Why don't humans ever appreciate my gifts, he wondered. His offerings were just as wise and practical as Athena's. Thunder and lightning cracked over the ocean as Poseidon fought to control his anger. Not only had he lost the contest, but he had lost to his brother's daughter. Embarrassed, Poseidon plunged deep underwater, fuming in anger. He lifted his trident and gave it a mighty whirl and brought it down with all his power onto the bottom of the ocean floor. When it struck, a giant crack appeared. The ocean floor trembled. A giant wave rose to the surface. He struck the ground again, making the earth rumble and quake. The earthquake created a rippling wave that traveled quickly in all directions. One of the waves raced toward Attica, where the people of Athens were still celebrating the outcome of the contest. The tidal wave reached the shore and spilled onto the land. It spread everywhere, reaching Athens and all of northern Attica. People fled in all directions. Most of them gathered on the Acropolis to wait for the floodwaters to go down and for the ground to stop shaking. When Poseidon calmed down, the skies returned to their normal blue. The ocean was once again flattened. After a while, the floodwaters in Attica went down. The people were able to go on living and worshiping Athena as their chosen god. Later on, Poseidon returned to visit Athens. He discovered everyone still worshipped him. They built a temple on the Acropolis called the Parthenon. On the temple were scenes of him and Athena creating their gifts. The spring he created was still there as a deep well. Poseidon felt terrible about having lost his temper, but he also learned he could still be important to the people without being their patron god. While he and Athena continued to fight for many more years, they sometimes worked together to protect the city. And every time the people of Athena felt the ground rumble and shake beneath their feet, they knew it was just Poseidon, the Earthshaker, having a bad day.